Hello and thank you for joining me. This entire video is going to be about landing your first cybersecurity job directly after college. Why am I making a video about that? A lot of people, when they come out of college, they either have a comp sci degree or a management information systems degree, or maybe, even an unrelated degree. And it can be tricky to parlay that to pivot into cybersecurity. And yes, I did use the word pivot. I know a lot of people, they think, oh, comp sci, cybersecurity, management information systems, cybersecurity, right? It actually is a bit of a pivot because unlike your comp sci degree or your management information systems degree, there's a lot of cybersecurity specific knowledge that may not be covered by those degrees, and employers can be weary, right? So this whole video is going to be about how to give you tips to set yourself up for success before you leave college and are looking for that first job. This entire video is going to be tips that I myself had done and found effective. It's also going to be some things that I wish I had done in college that probably would have made my job search easier as well, right? So I'm going to be listing those all out in just 1 second.
Later that same evening.
Recommendation number 1, compete in as many hackathons as you can. Firstly, what is a hackathon? A hackathon is usually a 24-hour to 48-hour event where you are just working on a project either alone or with a group of people, right? And it's usually a tech-related project. Now, there's a couple of different sections of hackathons. There's hackathons that aren't cybersecurity related, right? But they're still project focused. For example, I did one on healthcare tech, right? So basically, each team had to come up with a project in how to better healthcare tech and administration. But there are also some hackathons that are specific to cybersecurity themselves, right? So either or works. Honestly, even if it's not specifically cybersecurity related, any sort of environment where you can work with a team on a project, it's going to be very helpful for you in portraying your value to future employers, right? The biggest benefit of doing a hackathon is it's fun, right? You and your friends get to work for 24 to 48 hours on a project of your choosing, right? That's awesome. Now, if you don't have any friends, that's totally okay too.
I got plenty of friends. I can name 3 right off the bat. The gang's all here.
A lot of times you can make friends at these events, right? You'll not only be paired with random people who have similar interests to you, but you'll also be working alongside other groups who are doing cool things, which makes it so easy to talk to other people, make friends, right? Go out and converse and all that fun stuff. Beyond that, right, and this is more specific to the purpose of this video, a lot of times at these hackathons, employers will sponsor the events. For example, I went to a hackathon. It was under the Major League Hacking branch. I'll put the little logo right here. And what they did was they had companies like Google, CypherTech, and a couple of other tech-specific companies, cybersecurity-specific companies as well. They had them sponsor the event, and it was cool because you could go up to those companies, some of the people that work there, you could ask them about it, ask them about potential internships, and you also had a chance to show off your project to these people, right? So the big benefits of a hackathon, 1 is you get great experience working with a diverse group. 2 is that you get great opportunities to talk to employers, to network a little bit, and to also, figure out even if that job is something you're interested in the first place. The added bonus here of doing hackathons is you might win, and you might win cool prizes. I actually won a little mini stove, and it was like a couple $100 gift card from one of the hackathons, so that is also an added bonus as well. If you're wondering where you could find these events, as long as you were a college student, you could sign up for MLH, right? The Major League Hacking Organization, and they'll either have a competition at your university or probably a university somewhat close to you as well, right? Don't be afraid to travel, though. It is always fun to bring friends out for a weekend trip. Recommendation number 2, and it's going to seem like it's a little bit of a branch off of the first one. It's to have projects that you are passionate about and can talk about to a employer or specifically to a recruiter. The reason for this is a lot of times when it comes to interviews, you are going to have the same things to say about your classwork as all of the other people from your university. Let's say you have a recruiter coming specifically for your school to interview candidates from your school. Let's say it's Harvard University, right? If all you have to talk about on your docket are the classes that you took, every other student has that same experience, and it's going to sound very monotonous to these recruiters, right? And it's going to be a rough interview. However, if you do projects outside of that, projects that separate you from the pack, projects that show a bit of creativity and initiation, and also basically just, the fact that you have a passion for this outside of just the classroom, that's going to look really good for an employer, right? So having projects that are either on GitHub, right, which for those who do not know is just a platform where you could upload code and basically share it. Or if you just have projects that you could talk about, right, that is going to help you miles more than just having the same coursework as everybody else. Next up, and this recommendation is going to fall into the category of things that I did not do, but would have been helpful, and that is to do cybersecurity certifications, or at least networking certifications. Now, there are a couple certifications that come to mind for every employer when they think of entry-level positions. The first is going to be Security Plus, right? This is the most basic, or not necessarily basic, but the most top of mind cert when it comes to security for most recruiters. And honestly, when you look at most job applications, it pops up a ton, quite a bit as well for entry level as well. The perk of Security Plus is it's specific to cybersecurity itself, right? And can also give you a little bit of a taste of the field and some of the information pertaining to it before you actually dive in. As somebody who has helped with recruiting in the past, if I saw there was a candidate coming directly out of college who had their Security Plus cert, that would be a big talking point in that interview. I would absolutely bring that up and hear about their experiences with it. Other certifications that could be helpful as well. Network Plus. Security is very network based, and if you have a Network Plus certification, it is very convincing to a recruiter that you will stand out a little bit more than the person who just has their college degree. Outside of that, if you know that you specifically want to go into cloud security, which is very rare for someone to know that they want to do specifically out of college, but let's say you do, right? Having some sort of entry-level cert, whether it be Microsoft Azure AZ900 cert, whether it's the AWS Cloud Practitioner cert, right? Having some sort of entry-level cert that doesn't take too much time to prepare for is also helpful as well. My next recommendation is to use your electives wisely. These are the rare opportunities you have to take coursework that not everybody else in your major has taken before. For me, I actually had an awesome opportunity to take, it was a drone construction course, and it was really cool because it was a class made up of all of these different fields, right? We had kinesiology majors, we had comp sci specific people, we had some psych majors in there, right? And we basically all got to get together and to embark on this project and, basically work on a project together and try to make this thing fly in the air without exploding, right? It was really cool. What that gets you in an interview is it gets you a cool talking point. I was able to say that I worked with a cross-functional team, right, from multiple different academic disciplines, and we were able to come together, build a project, and I even got to talk about how, for that project specifically, there were a lot of parts where I took on a bit more of a mentorship role. In my specific team's case, we had a couple of engineering majors and then also a liberal arts major, and because of that, I was actually the only person on our team with real software experience, with real experience programming in Python. And that was what we needed for the project. So the cool thing was I got to take on a bit more of a mentorship role, and I got to break down complex programming problems into manageable bite-sized chunks. This looks great for employers. Employers are always looking for people who can take on mentor roles, who are able to communicate effectively, right? And thus was another talking point for me. Just by having some sort of project like that to talk about, right? Once again, I know this is going to sound very similar to point number 2 that I brought up, but I promise a little nuance. Just to have something different to talk about is going to help you so much, right? At the end of the day, recruiters and interviewers, not only are they looking for, are you competent? They're also looking for, are you memorable and would you be pleasant to work with, right? And this is a opportunity for you to show that. Before I give my last recommendation, let me know in the comments how you like this video. If you'd like more tips or for me to dive deeper into any of the ones that I brought up, just let me know. Happy to do a video on that always. But my last tip for you, and this is going to be the least cyber specific tip, is to have a stellar resume. Now that might sound very intuitive, and you might even think you have a stellar resume, but I would implore you to double check that. The first thing I'd recommend is there are cool websites like JobScan where you could actually input your resume, input the job description you're applying for, and it will tell you what percentage those two things match. It'll say what keywords exist in the job description that your resume is missing and vice versa, right? Really cool tool. The other thing I'd recommend, I love this, there's a website where it's Harvard Action Verbs, right, to use on resumes. That is a great website. One of the best things to show on your resume is that you are well written. A good way to show that is by making sure that all of your power verbs that start your bullet points off are varied. One of the biggest things I look for when I help people with resume review is do not repeat power verbs, and also don't use weak verbs. Don't say, helped in creating this project, right? Say collaborated. The truth of the matter is, when it comes to your resume, it is your first impression. First impressions are important. And if your resume does not give a strong first impression, that could be it. Also, you got to keep in mind, a lot of these bigger companies use what we call autoparsers. There are these machines that are manually filtering resumes out, scanning for keywords and scanning for disqualifiers, right? And if your resume doesn't even make it past that phase, it's unlikely that a human being will even look at your resume in the first place. So you want to make sure, right, that you use tools like JobScan, that you use peer-reviewed resumes that you are confident in the strength of. All right, well, thank you for joining me in this video. I appreciate you all tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next video.